So this is Bryan McNeill for 93.3 University of Guelph Community and Campus Radio. Our show is Underplayed and Underpaid, and I'm here with the great Lucas Stagg. How you doing today, Lucas?
Fantastic, Brian. Good to be here.
Right on. So, how many years have you been in the music industry?
Well, I guess this September it's 8 years full-time, but I've been playing since 13, started gigging when I was 15. I don't want to age myself, but it's been a little while. Yeah.
Right on. And what type of music would you explain to the people that you actually perform?
I'm a singer-songwriter. I have a band. I guess you could say I have a rock band, and I do the solo acoustic thing, and I play with a bunch of different people in various situations, and yeah, so rock music, I guess.
Very good. And where have you performed? Have you been outside of the country? Any memorable gigs?
I've done a bunch of tours with a fellow named Paul McLeod, who is well known in the Guelph area. Just to mention, if anyone's into guitar lessons and wants to pay for them, don't bother. Go see Paul at the Jimmy Jazz on a Monday night and just watch him for 20 minutes, and there's your guitar lesson. I've been through the States twice, about 3/4 of the States, and Central and Eastern Canada with Paul a few times. So, yeah.
Right on. Any memorable shows? Anything crazy happened, or did you get to share a stage with somebody that you really look up to, besides Paul?
Hey, we didn't even get into that. Yeah, there's been some interesting points that I can recall. I remember my old band Room 101 was based out of Cambridge, Ontario. We got to open for the Headstones and Teenage Head when Frankie Venom was still around, and for me those were memorable shows because those bands were influences on what I was doing. I guess now it would be Peter Case, who was with the Nerves and the Plimsolls from the Los Angeles, San Francisco area. When I first started doing the singer-songwriter thing, I got to do some shows with him and a guy named Alan Piggins out of Toronto, as well as Ray Materick from Hamilton. Linda Put the Coffee On, if anyone's interested in that. Ray's got a bunch of great records out, and those, just kind of followed the guys who I was catching on to, and went from there. But yeah, I guess you just kind of find out what you want to do, and go to those shows, see those guys, and not latch onto them, but make yourself known, and hey, it's good to be here. I'm around. I'll see you in 10 years if I'm still able to do this. But yeah, those are the guys I look up to, are the guys that I was going to see when I first started to do this.
That's great.
The solo thing, so.
When it comes to creating new material, do you usually cater to creating the lyrics or feeling first, or do you stick to your instrumentation first, or what's your process?
There's no real process. The faucet's been on for me for about since I can remember. It's never really turned off. So I get up in the morning, if I have a melody, it usually starts with a melody, which is probably from something I've been listening to over and over again, but to the point where I can't remember if it is or not. It makes me happy about that. So yeah, it's if an ABBA song comes into my head, I tend to recognize it. But if it's something other than that sounds slightly, there's a bend here or there, I can make it work, and then from there the lyrics just. I recently read the Keith Richards book, Life, and what he said is, you just kind of start phrasing, kind of blah blah blahing things together, and words kind of come out of nowhere, and then that's where a song is born. I agree with him on that point for sure.
Right on. Very interesting. Where do you find most of your inspiration from? Not just one particular guy that you used to look up to, but I mean overall.
Well, I think sometimes you live and sometimes you write. So for me, I mean, that was told to me 10 years ago by somebody I looked up to. and I've kind of stuck by that, and I think that helps kind of get all the BS out of the way, and I think you're right more if you're not just focused on writing, because you got to have something to write about. You can't write about writing. I guess you could, but it's not really a subject I want to talk about.
Wouldn't that be taboo?
Yeah. Who's written a song about writing a song? Today I was. I can't jive with that.
Maybe it's an interesting window to be explored. Anyways, back to the interview. So, when it comes to performing, how important do you find the relationship between the house technician, or are you comfortable with your own technical abilities in making sure that you sound smooth, whether there is a house sound guy or not?
Well, I think I've performed with, every Yorkville 8 series that's in pretty much standard in any small club from here to Halifax to Austin. So sometimes there's not a sound guy, and you gotta have the chops to make it happen. So it's pretty much standard everywhere. You just gotta switch a little thing here on the EQ and whatnot. But yeah, I got a pretty good guitar. I got a Gibson J45 that's helped me out since I started this solo thing, and it's been kind of an easy trip for me. But I suggest to anybody who's doing this to really sit down with a board for half an hour and just see what sounds good. Stand in front of the speakers, stand behind them, find out where it sounds good in the room. Generally a good idea before you get going on this trip.
Right on. So you're not a spring chicken when it comes to performing. So you've definitely come across numerous different types of situations. Now, for yourself, alcohol and performing, how well do they go together, or do you try to keep them apart completely?
I don't drink, Brian. That's the thing. That's what's happening. Alcohol and writing sometimes maybe, but alcohol and performing, I'd suggest to keep those as far apart as possible.
So, Lucas, you're performing tonight at the Cornerstone. What's the name of the album that you're going to be selecting from, or what albums have you already recorded and produced?
I recorded an album a few years ago. It was my first release on Busted Flat Records with Dan Walsh. Great dobro, great guitar player, killer dude. He's the guy. He kind of looks like one of the guys from ZZ Top at this point in time. We're all trying to convince him to shave it off, but I don't think it's going to happen. Anyway, it's called Great Big Gone. Still really happy with that recording, and there'll be some stuff from that, some stuff from the two latest Stagg Band records, and I've been writing quite a bit, so I'm excited to throw out a lot of new stuff at people tonight. And as well with the band, we're at the Jimmy Jazz next month on the 14th of October, and kicking off the tour at the Jazz. Following that on the 17th with McLeod, where Paul and I are going back out on the road. But yeah, expect a lot of new stuff, a lot of new favorites of mine. I've been, kicking around here and there. So
that's terrific. I noticed on the inside sleeve of Paul McLeod's latest album, Gauge, that you actually took part in producing. What was the experience like?
Well, Paul and Mark Logan from Encore Records, Busted Flat president, I guess you could say. We were sitting around one day, and I said, come in. I think you should do a record, Paul, that sounds like you sound by yourself live, and just smoke it in the studio. And that was kind of the idea. Took a few months, and Paul said, I'm ready to go. Mark was in, and we went to a studio out in Kitchener, and Paul showed up both days and nailed it to the wall, I gotta say, and basically I kind of stood at the helm of things, kept things going smoothly. There was 4 or 5 people involved with the whole production, but mostly it was Paul, and I can't really take more credit than that, other than to say thanks to Paul for the production credit. The songs are great. If you haven't heard Gauge, I think it's his best album to date, but I guess I'm a little biased on that.
Well, you can always check that out after the show every Monday. So, thank you very much, Lucas. Lucas tonight is going to be performing at the Cornerstone, and the day after is our show, Underplayed and Underpaid, Mondays at 6:05 p.m. So I want to say thank you very much, Lucas Stagg, for doing the interview.
Thank you, Brian.
And much appreciated. And again, October 14th at the Jimmy Jazz, Lucas Stagg and the band will be there. And come on out and have some fun.